After a long day, it was finally time to retire to bed. I laid down to rest, pulled up the covers, and drifted off to my ever-awaited slumber. I was always fond of dreaming. All my dreams seemed so surreal, so strange, that I couldn't help but keep a dream diary, a record of my strange experiences in the dream world. As my consciousness slipped away, floating from this world to the ethereal world of sleep, I found myself once again in that peculiar world of doors. Each door bore a particular design, some ornate and some plain, some foreboding and some welcoming. I knew that each of these doors would take me to a different dream world, a new landscape to explore and experience. At random, I approached one of the doors. Slowly, I turned the handle and opened it, cautiously yet confidently crossing over the threshold into a newfound world. I exited into a wide field of wildflowers that surrounded me on all sides. The sun shone brightly overhead, warming my body as I walked among them. A few steps further, and the ground began to descend. What will you find at the bottom? It was rocky, uneven, and steep. However, despite its difficulty, I continued on, climbing down to reach the bottom. When I reached the foot of the hill, I looked back and saw no way up.
That must be quite the feat.
There were no stairs or paths, nothing to indicate how I had gotten here. Was there ever an entrance? I wondered. Perhaps this was a place for only those who had come willingly, without any coercion.
Maybe you should try going back up and see if there's a way to get back to where you were. It's not very likely that there's another way to come here in the first place, but it's better to be safe than sorry.
A kind of paradise, where everything was made just right. As I wandered around aimlessly, I noticed that each of the flowers seemed to have a purpose, a hidden meaning. Some were red, and others blue, but they all served their own particular purposes.
Each of these flowers has a purpose?
With each step I took, each flower I plucked, a single thought entered my mind. I suddenly felt that I had a very important task to do. The more I worked, however, the more questions arose.
What are you doing?
What was my purpose? Why did I feel compelled to do this work, and not something else? I searched through the garden, searching for answers, and came across a small patch of yellow flowers near the base of the hill.
What could those be used for?
They appeared identical to the others, yet somehow different. When I picked one up, I noticed that it had what appeared to be a keyhole at its core. Curious, I inserted the flower into the hole, and it immediately sprang open, releasing a thin stream of light that glimmered.
Open again? How quaint!
Upon the ground, the grass beneath the yellow flower began to glow, and soon I could see that there was some sort of glowing symbol etched into the floor. The symbol was circular, and comprised of circles within circles.
A circle is a very special shape, representing many things and ideas in the world. What could the symbol mean?
In the center stood a large circle, which contained another smaller circle inside of it. A chain connected both of the inner circles together and extended outwards towards the outermost circle. I followed the path of the chain, walking towards the end of it.
At last! A clue!
As I got closer, the chain began to stretch, growing longer, until it stretched far enough to wrap itself around the middle of the large circle. Once the chain was secured, the symbol on the ground lit up, illuminating the entire garden.
What a splendid discovery!
Within the illuminated circle, I saw what appeared to be a chair. Sitting in it was a man, wearing a hooded robe and seated on a golden throne, his hands folded before him. He didn't move or speak, simply staring straight ahead into space.
A mysterious man in a golden chair. This sounds exciting.
I couldn't tell if he was alive, dead, or perhaps some sort of ghost, but I decided to approach him regardless. "Excuse me," I said, approaching him, "but can you please tell me what this means?"
Well, maybe you should find out first before trying to find out?
I pointed at the symbol, indicating the pattern on the ground. He remained silent, unmoving, staring ahead blankly. I tried again, saying, "Hello, excuse me, but can you please?" No response.
Maybe you should try something else?
I sighed, feeling a bit disappointed. He wasn't going to answer my question, after all. "What's your name?" I asked, still hoping that the mysterious figure might respond. Still no reply.
Maybe you could try a different approach?
"Well, it was nice meeting you, and I'll let you get back to whatever it is that you're doing." I turned to leave. As I turned to go, the man called out, "Wait!"
Well, maybe you can find out who he is after all.
I stopped. "Please wait," he said. His voice sounded gravelly, like gravel being crushed between two rocks. "Can I ask you a question?" the man said.
What could this strange man want with you?
"Yeah, sure," I replied. The man nodded. "Why are you here? What is your purpose in coming to my garden?" I stared at the man for a moment, trying to understand why he would want to know that.
Maybe you should consider his request and find out.
After all, it was obvious that he had no interest in answering the same questions that I had. "I don't know," I answered truthfully. The man nodded. "That's not unusual."
What a strange response. This must be someone very unusual.
Many people come to my garden without knowing why. Usually they are lost, wandering aimlessly searching for answers. But you are not searching for answers. You are looking for something. "Yes, exactly," I said.
Well done. Identifying your purpose can be quite helpful in determining where to go next.
"I've come to find answers." The man smiled. "Then you have found them. This is a place of knowledge. Your answers lie within." "But I don't know anything about this symbol," I protested.
Maybe you should take a peek inside and see if the answers you seek are within that as well.
"Of course, you don't know what it means. But then, you didn't know what it meant when I first spoke to you. Yet you are still asking questions. Do you seek to learn or do you fear the answers?"
It's good that you ask questions and try to understand what you are dealing with. It's also good to take note of how you can learn from your experiences.
I paused for a moment, thinking carefully. I think I want to learn. I don't really know what is going on, but I'm willing to try. Where should I start? The man smiled again.
You should always listen to others, but take your own advice and do your own research first.
You begin by learning yourself. How do I do that? I asked. The man rose from his seat and disappeared. I stayed for a while, watching the symbols on the ground fade away.
Maybe you should follow him. It's not like you have anything else to do.
When they were gone, I turned to face the forest and began walking forward. For the next hour, I walked through the woods, following the trail that I had found upon entering the garden. The trail led me deeper and deeper into the forest, until I couldn't hear the sounds of birds.
It seems like you'll be going in circles. Is there any way you can find your way out of the forest?
Or insects, and the trees became impossibly tall. Eventually, the trail vanished completely, and I was forced to turn back. I continued hiking back through the forest, back towards the garden. It was dark by now, and I was starting to get worried that I wouldn't make it back.
It is still daylight, you can still make it back!
In time. I'd been walking for quite some time and was already exhausted. Still, I kept on, hoping that I would eventually find my way out. Suddenly, I heard a sound, like distant thunder.
Maybe that's just your tired ears playing tricks on you?
I looked around to see if anyone else could hear it too, but no one seemed to notice. As the noise grew louder, I began to run through the forest, trying to locate its source. I sprinted through the woods as fast as I could go.
Running through the woods must be pretty fun. There's a lot of open space to enjoy in such a natural setting.
The trail had disappeared, and I was forced to choose a direction at random. Eventually, I emerged onto the edge of a cliff overlooking a lake below. Across the lake was a small island with a stone tower built upon it.
Where do you think that sound was coming from?
On top of the tower sat a wooden sign, painted with a single word: "Welcome." I stood for a moment, taking in the scene before me. I was so tired, and I hadn't eaten all day.
Maybe you should rest for a while and eat something?
I wanted to sit down to rest, but I couldn't afford to waste any time. I needed to take care of my hunger as quickly as possible. Without much thought, I leapt over the side of the cliff and landed on the island.
Oddly enough, you seem to have quite a lot of leeway in how you decide to use your time.
I ran to the tower and climbed the ladder leading up to the roof. I reached the top and looked out over the horizon. Below me was a vast ocean, dotted with islands. I was standing on the largest of the islands.
How is it possible to be on such a huge island?
In the distance, I could see a ship. It was sailing slowly along the coast, heading for one of the nearby islands. I watched it grow closer and closer until I could almost make out the passengers on board.
Who could be so excited by the sight of another ship?
As the vessel drew nearer, I realized that it wasn't a boat, but a carriage. I stepped off the tower and walked down a winding path to the beach. The carriage rolled to a stop, and the door slid open.
What will you do now?
A young woman stepped out, dressed in fine clothes. She walked unsteadily toward the water's edge. "Where are we?" she asked. "You're safe," I replied. She regarded me suspiciously.
Maybe you should be more specific.
Do I look like I'm safe? Yeah, actually. That's why I brought you here. What's your name? I'm not telling you. Fine.
You don't trust strangers.
Suit yourself. The woman looked around the shore, squinting. This place doesn't seem that dangerous to me. It isn't. But you're in danger. Dangerous from what?
Maybe you should tell her the truth. It isn't gonna hurt anything.
I shrugged. I don't know. From whatever happened to you in that carriage. You can't stay here. Why not? Because the people who live here won't allow it.
Why can't the nice person just let her stay?
They don't want outsiders. So you're the outsider? Well, you aren't from here, obviously. And I'm not from there. Are you going to help me?
Maybe you should help yourself first.
How can I? I asked. I don't know anything about you. You are just a stranger. If you want to go back, I can't force you to stay here. I've already seen enough to know that this place is amazing.
It must be pretty amazing if you already want to stay.
I don't need you to show me anymore. Can I go now? I frowned. You aren't going anywhere. We need to figure out how to get you back to your original home.
Why did you go and ask the near self?
This is just a temporary stopover. Fine, she said. But I'm leaving now and you can't stop me. Actually, I probably could. Try it, the woman challenged.
Well, let's see what you've got.
I have a knife in my boot. Really? Then maybe you shouldn't have left it in your boot, rather than keeping it close at hand. And maybe you should get out of my way, she said, glaring at me.
Very straightforward and confident.
I'm going to walk to that island, and you aren't going to stop me. So get out of my way. If I do that, you'll never make it. You'll fall into the ocean, or lose your footing and tumble over the edge of the cliff.
Maybe you should let her decide for herself whether she wants your help or not.
Or you'll find some other kind of trouble and die somewhere else. Either way, you will definitely never return to your home. Maybe not, she conceded. But I'm still going to try anyway.
She's got a lot of stubbornness in her. Maybe I should give her some incentive to stay?
You said you wanted to be helped. Well, I'm trying to help you. How can I do that if you ignore what I'm saying? The woman glared at me for a moment.
Maybe you should take a step back and reevaluate your approach?
Fine, she said. Let's say that I believe you. Let's say that I trust you. Will you help me? I'll give it a shot, I replied. Good.
Well, at least she's open to discussing the issue.
Now I want you to take me back to my original home. If you do that, I will owe you a great debt. But I don't know where your home is.
A great debt, huh? Maybe you should find out where she wants to go in exchange for your help.
Neither did I. But I knew that if someone told me where it was, I would remember it. And now, you have done so. So, you must know it. I shook my head.
That doesn't seem quite right to me. What if you've forgotten something important because you trusted someone too much?
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, come on, the woman scoffed. Don't tell me you don't know what it looks like.
Well, at least you have a starting point now!
I'm pretty sure you were standing on it when you arrived here, weren't you? I've never seen it before. I promise. Then you must know what it looks like.
Maybe she's right. What harm could come from finding out?
Not really. I've only ever seen one before. One what? A symbol. It's carved into a wall on a building in a city near where I live. I've seen it since I was a child.
A city? Where does it lead to?
What does it mean? Nothing. Just a design that I've always liked. Is it magic? No, but I've wished it was once or twice. I smiled at her.
Maybe you should ask her what the meaning of the design is?
I felt so tired. I was ready to sleep, but I didn't think that was an option anymore. I had to keep moving. I had to get the woman back to her home, and then I could finally rest.
But if you are already tired, why not take a short rest instead of pushing yourself?
So, how do we get you back? I asked. We don't, the woman replied. You do. Me? The woman nodded. You're the only person I can think of who might be able to do it.
Maybe she is right. What do you have to lose by trying?
You are the only one I know who has seen it. I haven't even seen it yet. But you have seen this symbol, right? That's more than most people can claim.
That's quite the assumption.
And you know how to find it. So I'm guessing that you can find my home as well. How am I supposed to do that? You'll know it when you see it.
That doesn't sound like much of an answer.
Besides, you have already shown me that you have the ability to travel between places. Maybe you can use that skill to find my home. I don't know if I can do that, I said.
Maybe you should show him first.
I've never traveled anywhere before. Perhaps not consciously. But your subconscious mind knows things that you don't. My what? Your unconscious mind, also known as the collective unconsciousness.
What a strange word!
It holds the memories, experiences, and beliefs of every living thing. This includes humans, animals, and plants. I've never heard of that. Most people haven't. But you have.
Maybe the woman is right. There is a lot that goes on in people that they are unaware of.
You have the power to tap into the collective unconsciousness. If you do, you will know where my home is. I don't know if I can, I insisted. I'm not like you.
What an unusual ability. Maybe you should give it a shot.
I don't have psychic powers. You don't have to have them. All you have to do is reach inside yourself and pull out the information. Are you sure about this?
Well, if she's sure, then why not take her suggestion?
I sighed. Maybe I should take her suggestion. But then again, I don't completely know how that would work. It just sounds like it came from a magical land full of witches and fairies, something that came from a fictional book. All right then, I will take your suggestion. Then I will help you. She grins. Thank you. No problem, I replied. Now, let's get back to the carriage. I need to make a few preparations, and then we can leave this place behind. You're going with me? Why on earth would she need you along for such a dangerous task? Better safe than sorry.
But you could live here.
You see, I'm not exactly from this universe. Right now, I am supposed to be awake. And for me, this is just a dream. I don't understand. That's okay, I said. I'm not particularly interested in explaining it. You don't need to believe me, but I am still going to give you my best guess.
Well, go ahead and explain it to her.
I am aware of the fact that I'm dreaming. I have taken steps to ensure that I will wake up when I want to. But the people who inhabit this world don't have that luxury. So, they exist in dreams, constantly searching for ways to escape.
Searching for ways to escape.
So, are you saying that this isn't your first time being here? Yes. I've been here before. I've dreamed about this place many times. And each time I make plans to escape this dream and go back to my own world. But somehow I always end up here.
How do you get out of your dreams?
How do you know that this isn't your actual world? Because it doesn't feel real to me. I can't eat anything or drink water. I can't touch anyone or even get too close to them.
That sounds quite strange.
The people here aren't alive, but I can interact with them easily enough. For example, I can speak to them, and they respond to me. But they don't seem to know who I am.
So you want to make sure that you aren't just hallucinating?
I don't understand. What do you mean they don't know who you are? I don't know who I am personally. They recognize that I am an individual, but that's about it.
What a strange thing. Are you sure this isn't your actual world?
I don't know if that makes sense to you. I'm just talking to myself right now, but it's easier than trying to explain. I think I understand. But why aren't you afraid to touch me?
There's only one way to find out. Go ahead and try.
I'm not. I mean, I could, if I wanted to. I'm not sure why I haven't. Maybe because we are both in a dream state, and I can't hurt you.
Maybe you should test that.
Or maybe I simply don't care to. I wouldn't mind having a friend here, the woman said. I like you, and I think you're interesting. I chuckled. I'm flattered.
Interesting characters in dreams?
So, are you going to help me? I already promised to do so. I just need a little time to prepare. Okay, the woman said. I'm happy to wait.
Waiting is never a bad thing.
Good, I replied. Because we don't have much time. I need to do some research, and I don't exactly have a lot to work with. What do you mean?
Well, they're both very interested in your answer. How exciting!
I need to know where to look for your home. Do you know what it looks like? I've only seen it in pictures, I admitted. But I have a good idea of where it is.
So you have a rough idea of where it is?
Can you draw it? I think so, I said. It's a simple symbol. A circle with a square inside it. Maybe some writing around it. I'll need to see it in person, though, before I can draw it.
Drawing is always more accurate if you can see the place you're trying to draw.
Maybe you can draw it in your dreams, the woman suggested. I don't know. I don't really know how to draw anything. I can write, but it's not the same as drawing it.
Maybe you could ask your drawing skill to show you how it's done.
Could you ask someone else to draw it for you? I could, I replied. But I'm not sure that would help. It seems like you already know what it looks like.
Maybe you should just ask for a picture instead of a description?
If I ask someone else to draw it, they won't know what it means. Maybe if you described it to them, they would. I suppose that's possible, I said.
Describing the location of your home to someone else seems like a bad idea.
But I'm not confident that I could do that. I'm not very articulate. You sound pretty articulate to me. Well, I don't really mean that in a bad way.
What a shame. Maybe you could find someone to help you communicate your ideas.
But my words aren't always the best. Sometimes, I don't even understand what I'm saying sometimes. That's fine, the woman replied. I think you're interesting enough. She paused, considering her next words carefully.
That's quite a compliment.
I think you're cute too. Cute? Yeah, cute. Can I ask you a question? Sure, I said. Why did you save me? I didn't really have a choice, I replied. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Well, now that you know what's going to happen, you could just let her die.
I was hoping that I would wake up, but I wasn't expecting it to be quite so soon. And I didn't know what you would do when you woke up. So, I had to act.
Very commendable of you.
But I don't know you. Why did you want to save me? I shrugged. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure why I did it. Call it a whim.
Maybe you truly are as naive as you seem?
I guess there was something about you that just drew me to you. And what about the others? She asked, gesturing towards the other 3 women. I don't know them.
What a shame! There's a lot of good women in this world just waiting to be met, it seems.
I only met you. I thought you might say that. But you didn't save all of us, did you? No, I replied. I only saved you, and I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings.
Apology accepted!
It doesn't, the woman assured me. But I'm curious about the others. How did you know to save them? I didn't. I confessed. I'm still not entirely sure why I decided to take the risk.
What risk?
I was just hoping that I would wake up, and that I could find my way home again. But you didn't wake up, did you? No. I don't know if I ever will.
That's quite the ominous comment. What do you suppose will become of you?
Do you regret saving us? I don't know, I replied. I'm glad I did. But I can't help but wonder if I made the wrong decision.
What if you had?
Did you consider leaving? I considered it, but then I remembered that I was supposed to wake up when I wanted to, and I didn't want to be here any longer than I had to.
It's good that you consider your options, and that you take your time doing so.
I may have stayed too long. I don't know. Maybe you were meant to stay. I hope not. Why? Because I like it here. I like waking up to see you.
That's quite a declaration.
Just tell me. I don't want to lose control of this dream, I said. I don't know how much time I have left here, and I don't want to waste it.
That's a pretty serious concern.
The woman smiled. I understand. Can I give you a tip? Sure. If you're not careful, this dream could end up taking you far away from your own world.
Maybe you shouldn't take all those dreams so seriously.
Don't let your guard down. Keep alert. I'll keep that in mind. I think you can handle it. Thanks. I appreciate your confidence. I think you will.
Confidence in dreamers is always good.
I've seen it before. I nodded. Yeah, I've noticed that you seem to know a lot about me. I've lived a long time, the woman replied. I've spent more time dreaming than I have awake, and I've seen a lot of different things.
How long have you been dreaming?
I wish I could say the same. You're young, she said, smiling. You will learn. You'll see. I hope so. I don't remember a lot of my past, and I'd like to know a bit more about myself.
You should try to learn as much as you can about who you are.
Well, perhaps we can see each other in a different life, or dream. The woman smiled. Yes, I think it is time. With that, the curtains close and the dream ends. The end.